Good morning. Welcome to Agape Korean UMC, the online. Today is the first test run for the live today with the high tech, and we thank you so much for Miss Kim being present with us with the her laptop, the webcam camera, another camera all hooked up right now, so we are all good to go. Thank you so much again. And if there's any hiccups in the sound or the picture streaming, please let us know. Other than that, let us pray to God and let's go. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for so much for giving this opportunity to get together online with the members of the church, Lord, and the others who may join online. We thank you for their presence, Lord, also. Lord, help us to dive into your word this morning. Teach us, Lord, your ways. Help us to have the clear understanding of who we are and who you are. And also, we lift up those people who are in the hospitals with all the diseases, especially COVID-19. People are just trying to make it today, Lord, as we speak right now at this moment, Lord. Please also show them your mercy and comfort. Lord, please be with us and guide us in our worshiping you, Lord. In the name of Christ. Amen. Okay, so let's look at the Bible. Bible is the 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 12 through 14. We are going to read from the ESV. So if you have the Bible app, like a U version, go to the ESV, English Standard Version, and then the version of the 1 Peter 4, 12 through 14, and then go to the next chapter, chapter 5, 6 through 11. So, are you ready? Okay, so I'm ready. So if you're ready, you can go. This ESV, 1 Peter chapter 4, starting verse 12 through 14. Listen for the word of God. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fire trial when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice, insofar as you share God's sufferings, that you may also rejoice and be glad when His glory is revealed. If you are insulted for the name of Christ, you are blessed because the spirit of glory and of God rests upon you. And then we go to the next page, next chapter, 5, 6. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time He may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on Him, because He cares for you. Be sober-minded. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by brotherhood throughout the world. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to His eternal glory in Christ, will Himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. To Him be the dominion forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you're up against the wall, what do you do? When you have the Peter today use the word fiery trials or fiery ordeals, maybe the most difficult times in your life. When you are faced that kind of the difficulties, that level, what do you do? Like the pains and sufferings and persecution in Peter's times back in the first century, and then the temptation to give in to the demands of the culture and the world. What do you do? For me, here's what I do. I got a problem. Then I look at the problem, I analyze it, I take it apart, and then just look at what I have and find ways to solve those problems, and I solve it. And many times I can solve it. Many times I can handle those problems. Certain times I cannot. My resources ran out. I just don't know what to do. I'm literally up against the wall. I cannot go even 1 inch further. I'm stuck. Things happen like that. And for those who feel that way today, and Peter has a word to say today. Back in the first century, Peter was writing this letter, First Peter, to the scattered Jews. We call them the dispersed or dispersion, or the word that is the popular. You know the word diaspora. Diaspora. Actually, those are the Jews who scattered not only after the AD 70 AD. What happened in 70 AD? The temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. And the people, just as Jews, they moved out, scared. So they moved to Rome and Turkey and Syria and all the Mediterranean Sea across, and they all dispersed. Actually, that wasn't the first time. Before that, about 600 years ago, about 587 BCE, the Babylon came down to destroy the temple again. So that was the first temple that they destroyed by the Babylons, because the first temple was built by the Solomon, probably about 900 BCE, and then about 587, that temple was destroyed by the Babylons, and then the Babylons took the Jews back to Babylon as captives. So they were there for so many years. They came back down and built another temple, maybe 515 BCE. So that temple continued standing up until 70 AD, until the Romans came and destroyed that temple. And since that time, for about 1,950 years, the Jews, Israel, doesn't have a temple to worship in. And then the same spot right now, you see the Dome of the Rock, the Islamic, the mosque, and then the Al-Aqsa, another structure there, same spot. But anyway, the First Peter is full of hopes and dreams and encouragements. There are two books in the Bible that's more like the First Peter. The first one is definitely First Peter. The second one is the book of Revelation. It's full of hopes and encouraging words. For those Jews living in that state of the communities in the Roman world right now, back in those days, a lot of persecutions. A couple of really famous emperors like Nero, the Domitian, and a couple more really persecuting the Christians really bad ways, cruel ways. To those people, Peter has a word to say. You guys, please humble yourself. He's like, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. It's like that's his his approach. That's his manual. Like for those people who skate around right now and then living with others who are not maybe Jews or Christians, and then you guys humble yourself. He's like, wow. And then he went on to say, "We cast all your anxieties on him." And then the ESV today, they use the word be sober-minded. I love it. Other Bibles, they say be clear-minded or be sober, or NRSV, I checked it, they say discipline yourself, or NCV, New Century Version, says control yourself. But to me, I don't like those. I like this one better. Be sober-minded. Be sober, which means you're sane. You're not insane. You're sane. You're not drunken. You're clear. So the Peter is telling those people right now, the Jews, scared of this first Jews, saying that you guys stay spiritually sober-minded, or clear-minded, and then also resist the devil or adversary. The Bible says, adversary here too. So what is adversary? Adversary in Greek is anti-dikos. Anti, against, you oppose something, anti-something, that's the word anti. Dikos. Dikos means righteousness or justice. So anything against justice and righteousness, the Bible calls it the adversary. It's actually encouraging and urging the Jews to stand up against that anti-dikos, the adversary. It's not just a Satan with kind of a horn stuff like that. No, it's not that way. And also, when you fight, resist the adversary like that. Make sure that you guys stay firm in your faith. And then make sure that not only you guys suffer this thing right now, but the people, the other Christians around the world, maybe in the Roman Empire back then in the first century, they were actually experiencing the same kinds of suffering and pains. So you guys, please stay cool. And then please find a way to be united with them and also stand in solidarity with them. And so right now, Peter is focusing on the community of faith, and definitely in the context right now here. So let's look at the text again. Today the title is this. Probably you have noticed, but you have not. But the title is this: "See through oneself." Seeing through oneself. Actually, one of the PowerPoints, probably you may not see it, but I put an X-ray up there. X-ray. Actually, it's my X-ray. It was taken last year after the accident. My neck X-ray, and then not all messed up though, but then it's mine. But anyway, if you go see a doctor, when you go see the doctor, they can put the X-ray machine right there, and then you stay still, and then they can take a picture inside of you, all the bones, and they'll tell you, okay, the bones is not lined up here, maybe a disc is going down this way, you lost that much disc, whatever. They'll tell you. How about, what did you do if you were going to see yourself, the spiritual self, inner being? What machine is out there actually to allow us to see the inside of the inner being? My argument today is this: that if you do not see it through yourself, that you cannot have this kind of the quality that Jesus had, like the humility. Yeah, I'm trying to make a kind of some dots right now here and there, though. But then let me see. Let me start off with this question: what is humility? Is the humble people could go around and say, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, I don't know that. Oh, no, I don't know that." Is that really humble? Well, that's just incapable. Maybe I call them incapable. Incapacity. I mean, they're not able to. They don't have the capacity to do it, or not. I don't know. It's kind of you demean yourself, going around, or you really think poorly of yourself, or loathe yourself. Is that really humility? When you look at the word up in the Webster's dictionary, you may find some the meanings that are not really, not likable. I looked it up yesterday, and it's like, this is not, no. The way the Bible is using this word humility is this: tapeno. Tapeno simply means this: that you are being fully dependent on God, or you are dismissing the reliance upon yourself, or you're emptying carnal ego. Carnal is a big word, C-A-R-N-A-L, carnal, physical, like the physical carnal ego. You empty that. That the Bible calls humility. That's an interesting approach to the word humility as we know right in the 21st century in America, or in Korea anyway. The humility can only happen with the changing of the perception of who I am, who God is. You have to have this very clear self-consciousness of who you are and who God is. Otherwise, you cannot be humble. Or the Peter said that you got to humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. You just cannot do it. You just read it. You have no idea. Let me talk about the balance. Balance between what I can do or what God can do, which means what I can do between what I cannot do. When you somehow strike that balance in a very delicate manner, then you'll find ways to be humble, stay humble before God. Let me unpack that a little bit. To do that, I believe that you require is some kind of act of the will. How do you become humble? Like automatically, you go to church and automatically expect to be humble? No, it doesn't happen. It's kind of it happens so and so just with the time. It doesn't happen. It takes your will to change your perception to act in a certain way. The Peter went on to say to cast all your anxieties on God. So what is anxiety? Anxiety in Greek meaning the state of being pulled apart. So let me just say this. Worries, stress, daily struggles, temptations, a temptation to give in to the demands of the world and the culture, the peer pressure, the fear, and the loneliness and depression and the persecution in Peter's times. When you are in that constant state, you're not yourself. You are being pulled from yourself. Maybe you have two U's, three U's, three me's. You're not as one unified being. An interesting approach to anxiety and the Greek mindset. But anyway, the Peter said that cast all of that, throw all of that to God. Don't like to give it to him nicely. Cast them away. Throw them away to God. He can handle those things. So we are faced with a lot of situations, circumstances, demanding my submission to them. You have an option to submit to that situation, or you submit to God, who's beyond, above that situation, who controls that circumstance, those kind of situations. You have an option. There's a very willful action. Your will is needed, required. It's not just it's going to happen like that. It automatically doesn't happen. How about this? Let me talk about the generational gap. Any church has this. We do have that. Any churches probably in the world, they all have those same issues. We are worshiping the faith community from the 80s and 90s old, and then the 1 month old, and we are in between. I'm in between. Like our church right now, we have 80-some years old, and then we have Junie or Gianni, who's in Korea right now. He's 3, 4, he's little ones. And then this kind of stereotyping the thought process in any church. People think like that. Oh, the old folks, old people, they don't like change. They resist change. So we're the change agents. They don't want to be moved. They just want to stay as they are, where they are. They're happy. And then old people, elderly people or people advanced in age, they may talk to or they think about those young people. It's they're not stable. I don't like their music. I don't like the way they worship. I don't like the drums. I don't like I cannot take it anymore. All the generational gaps. And then a lot of churches and then ministries are focusing on somehow reducing that gap between the generations. And some success maybe, some failures, and they're still working on it. One solution is this. According to Peter, actually, when you back up one verse, chapter 5, verse 5, Peter said something like this: submit to God, and also submit to each other. I just love it when I hear it, because the people well advanced in age, they also they are also invited to submit to the young people. And also the young people, of course, out of respect. We respect and then we submit to ourselves to those people too. So it's wow, that's the picture that Peter is trying to draw right now with this community. Scared of the Jews right now. That's how you guys behave. Let me ask you this: in the Bible, when I say the humility, who do you think will be the model or example of humility? I would say Jesus. And he's my model too, by the way. When you look at the Matthew 11:29, and that's the verse 11:28, the famous verse. That for those who are weary and heavy burden, that you come to me, and then I am gentle and humble, that's a love from me. Take the yoke upon you and love from me. So Jesus is the God, as we know it, right? As confess, He's God. And then He is telling others, like, you know what? I'm humble too. I'm your God and I'm humble. Because I rely on God. I'm dependent upon God. 100%, completely. I'm God, but I rely on my God, my Father. So what an image that He's trying to kind of present to us. And also, when you look at John, chapter 17 through maybe 17, like the farewell discourses, I believe, that He's talking a lot. Jesus just talking to the disciples a lot right before He departed, right, back to the heavens, and He was having a meal, things like that. And then the one act that He did at that meal was that He took a towel around His waist and He knelt and washed His disciples' feet. And what an act of humility and service. So I would say that Jesus is the model of the God, our God that we serve, and He is the God of humility, a humble God. When you go to church, people talk a lot about grace. Grace. Oh, grace. Like, how do you receive grace anyway? And when? You go to church and you pray a lot, and is that how you receive grace? Or just you talk to really like the mind-boggling, like emotional, like the highly charged, like the sermon, and you just love the pastor, and you feel like, oh, I received grace today. Thank you, Lord. Or you go up in the mountains and can pray all night long, and always kind of uprooting the trees or whatever, and then you pray all night long, and then is that how you receive grace? You have some kind of the tent meeting, whatever. You have kind of famous kind of a pastor coming in for 3 days and 3 nights, and you go there every day, every afternoon, every night. You give them a big offering, and then you feel like, oh, I feel good. I think I received grace from God. Here's what Peter say to that. Peter said in the chapter 5, verse 5, he says this, that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So God gives grace to the humble. So who's humble? Humble man is the one who is completely dependent upon God. You're leaning on God, leaning towards God 100% completely. That person, we call it humble. All your situation right now that you're in, you try to turn things around and then kind of back to God. The only one thing is required is the humility, which is what again? You lean on God. You depend on God. You rely on God again and again and again. That's how you receive God. You receive grace. And also, the Bible tells the Psalm 29:5 is this, that God leads the humble in what is right. And also, He teaches the humble His way. That's interesting. Here's the logic. If you're not humble, you cannot be taught. You are not learnable. You're not teachable. And that's what God says. Because God teaches the humble His ways. God didn't say, I'm going to teach the arrogant. No. He lets the arrogant kind of let them just do whatever they want to do. Same way for me. If somebody comes to me and is like, teach me something, he's so arrogant that he's kind of know-it-all, and Mr. Know-it-all, and I know everything, and then this comes, I cannot teach him because he's full of himself. You have to empty yourself, make some room to be taught. Maybe your friends that you know, maybe people that you know at work, at school, whatever, and then maybe some Christians. Some Christians, like their head so big, so swollen, right? they walk in a kind of arrogantly. I mean, my voice, kind of my natural voice is like this, but sometimes when I hear the Korean pastor's voice, like it almost sounds like God. Like, God, like, amen, like, God bless you. It's like, oh man, did they have a problem with the voice or something or what? Some people think they know it all about God, about salvation, about theology, about doctrines, about the church. So they tell you, they're ready to tell you what to do. If they don't, if you don't act in a way that they want you to do, you're like the enemy to them. Maybe devil. Maybe they call you Satan. He's like, oh. It's like, man, we have a long way to go. we have a long way to go. They don't even have this slightest kind of a thinking that they may be wrong, even not 1%. They exactly can tell you who can go to heaven, who cannot go to heaven. Who are you telling all of that? I mean, knowing all of that. I mean, the Bible says that that belongs to God. Nobody, no human being actually is supposed to know, and then there's God thing. So if you're full of yourself, which means you're not humble, the God says that I cannot teach you, and then Pastor Paul says I cannot teach you either, because you cannot be learned. You cannot be taught. You're not learnable. You're not teachable. Man. To me as a Christian, that's really one point that we think about. You call yourself a disciple. You're invited to order your life in a certain way, according to the lifestyle of Jesus Christ. Now you're telling me what to do. You're full of yourself, and you know how to go to heaven. You know how to be saved, all this stuff. And then you're so sure, not even like there's not even like the slightest kind of idea or the possibility that you may be wrong. And then I call that like almost like an idol, almost elevating himself to the level of God, or even beyond God. When you're humble, God notices that. Oh, Christina is humble, Jeremiah is humble, Josh is humble, Joseph is humble. He's leaning on me. I can feel it. I can feel it. What do you need? I can help you out. If you don't lean on God, almost kind of telling God, I don't need you, God. I can do my stuff here. I can handle my stuff. I'm a big guy. I'm a big girl. I can do it. Somebody said this. Life is a long lesson for humility. When you go to school, called the life, a lot of things to learn. A lot of things to learn. Friendship, relationship, patience, and then the humility is maybe a big one too, big ticket item. I think that's true. Life is a process of learning humility, and all the way till the end. Till the end. Humility also keeps us in check somehow from depending on our own powers and strengths. Also, God hears the prayers of the humble. I mean, that's like a given. That's fact. This is just because he's teachable. God can tell him what to do, and then yes, Lord, I can do it. Guide me. Light my path. Humility also opens our eyes to see God at work in our lives. Because here's what I'm thinking right now. Here's what I can do here. Here's what I cannot do. So after I do what I am supposed to do, then I just leave everything to God, rest to God, and then let God work in there, in the realm, in the area that where I don't have any control over. Nothing. And then I see that, that's how God works. I didn't know that before because I thought I was in control of my life. I was doing everything. I was handling everything. I was solving all the problems. I was running here and there. All the I'm it. But then I realized that I had to lean on God and make some room for God. God come in and do your work, and He said, "Wow, really? This is nice. We can work together, God." So within all that context right now, the Peter is telling the state of Jews right now that you guys please stay spiritually sober-minded, or clear-minded, or control yourself in that manner, or humble yourself. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. So the disciple is this. When they're up against the wall, They don't give up, of course. They rather lean on God completely. And then sometimes that means pain and suffering. Back in the first century, persecution, which means life and death. They never gave up. They never trust God passively, which means they just go to church and pray all day long, do nothing. Almost like God. That person thinks like God is a magician or something, pulling like a rabbit out of the hat or something, just top it or something. God is not a magician. The God that we serve is a very honest God. God has given us all the ability to do a lot of things. So actually, you can do a lot of things. When I see my kids and all the people, they're really capable kids and people out there. I had no idea. And thank God that you've given them all the abilities and capabilities and to do all of that. We give thanks to God. So do whatever you can do. It's not because you're special, but because God has given you the ability. So we give thanks to God even for that. So you do all of that, and then you leave the rest back to God. To me, that's the very active humility. It's not you do not trust God passively, you trust God actively. Look at your life. What are you holding on to? Fear, study, college, money, job, grad school that you are trying to apply and study, and then maybe fear, anxiety, depression, a loneliness, I mean, whatever you call it. What are you holding on to? Are you still holding on to those things? Why? Is it because you think God cannot handle those problems? Is it because that's how you believed all of the years? There's your perception on God? Or is it because you still think you can handle those problems without God? Because I'm a big man. Let me urge you again to find that balance in your faith. Do whatever you can do and leave everything back to God. Let Him handle it. Because there are certain things in your life that you cannot control. You don't have any control over, out of your hand. So the humility is not a blind the discount on your abilities. Oh, I cannot do that. I don't know what to do. I don't know that thing. Then learn something. learn how to do it. Rather, to me, humility is this. Humility is an open awareness to this possibility that God and I can work together like good partners. Meaning, you have to have the balance in your life. You got to do what you got to do. Be diligent. Don't be lazy. Use all the things that God has given you. We have this wonderful thing called brain. Use that, please. And then, you leave everything, the rest to God. Let Him work. So humility lies only in the inner person who can see through himself with the clear self-consciousness and self-understanding. So my last word to you, if I borrow the words from Peter today, is this. So when you walk this Christian walk, or faith walk, whatever you call it, I urge you to see through yourself some kind of a spiritual X-ray machine or something. You have to see through yourself and have a clear understanding of who you are and who God is, what you can do, what you cannot do. So I urge you today to see through yourself and be spiritually sober-minded. Don't be spiritually drunken. Be sober. Be clear-minded. By completely relying on God in your faith walk, casting all your worries, anxieties, fears, and on God. Because God is big enough to handle all of that. So, I'm sending you right now the blessings again, and the grace of Jesus Christ, and the love of God the Father, and then the communion of the Spirit within you as you walk this walk in that way, trying to be dependent on God, trying to lean on God 100% completely in the small tasks in your life, by staying, continue to stay spiritually sober, sober-minded, clean-minded. Please go in peace, my dear brothers and sisters. Again, thank you for joining us for online. In the history of the Agape Church, probably the first online. Is that correct today? Yes, I got confirmation. In the history of the Agape Church, this is the first ever live test run ever, and I hope that's gonna get better and better every week. But thank you again for joining us. Go in peace again, my dear brothers and sisters. Amen.